Hello everyone, it's Joanne Boon here again with another free tutorial for you. I'm really hoping you enjoy these free tutorials. I have to say I did film this a while ago on my phone, so it might be a little bit shaky, but hopefully that won't spoil your enjoyment. I now have a spanking new, great, fantastic camera to film my tutorials on, so the quality is a little bit better there. If you're enjoying the free tutorials, then please do give me a like, or even better, subscribe, and then you'll get notifications of when I do post more free tutorials for you to watch and paint along with. Okay, my Patreon channel, by the way, is going really well, and it's been a real bonus for me over these last few months, and I'm hoping that it has my patrons as well. It's thanks to them that I've been able to buy the new equipment needed to film the tutorials, and as well as monthly tutorials, I'm also supplying step-by-step demonstrations as well, and you find those on our free Facebook page, which is actually not free, sorry, it's for subscribers to the Patreon channel. So when you subscribe to the Patreon channel, you get access to the Facebook group as well. And there you can post your work, receive feedback, follow the step-by-steps, and hopefully all in a nice, safe environment. Let's go back to what I was saying before about if you want to subscribe to the Patreon channel. The best way to do that is if you look under the video, you'll see a little arrow. If you click on that, a description will come up and you'll find the link in that description. I really hope to see you there, and I hope that you enjoy this new free lesson. Let me know what you think in the comments. I'll see you soon. Bye. Okay, so I've got my drawing down. I apologise for not pressing very hard because I just don't like to see too many pencil marks in a picture. I think it restricts you actually. If you want to paint in a loose way and there's lots of pencil lines, you tend to stick to those pencil lines. So not much in the way of drawing, and it's very light. But don't forget, you get the royalty-free photograph and a traceable drawing as well. So you can trace your drawing down if you're not confident with your drawing. That's fine. I'm using actually a block today. It's a St Cuthbert's Mill block. It's a Bockingford watercolour. Oh, sorry, it's a Saunders watercolour paper. And you can see that it's actually on a little block here. And you just kind of put your knife down there or a sharp object just to take that paper away. So it saves kind of clipping paper down as well. I like a block. Size 8 brush, a little bit of candle wax, you know so well. I'm going to be using the Prussian Blue. Now, we're painting a monochromatic picture, so any dark colour is fine. Payne's grey, burnt umber, anything that you're going to get at least some really strong values with. Little palette, of course. Spray bottle, just in case I need it. And a ratty old cloth, just in case I need that as well. So, let's put a bit of wax on. I noticed some of you, when you've painted your little mice, were a little bit heavy-handed with that, and it's easy to put too much down. It's just a very light touch. Now, let's do this, okay, on a scrap of paper here. This lovely arrow here is reminding us that the light's coming this way. So the whole point of putting the wax resist into this area is that we can highlight little areas like the chimney, maybe a few strokes and dots into that tree, maybe down the tree, maybe into some of this foliage. You can even kind of put dots into the water or some nice kind of linear marks as well. I'm not pressing very hard. That's the whole point, not pressing very hard at all. Do you know what? I think that's enough. So we'll put the wax away. So we've got our drawing down, we've put some wax on there, we've got a beautiful big arrow coming here to tell us where our light's coming from. And that is what's going to make this painting special, is showing the lights, which is all important. So let's crack on. I've got a nice big juicy blob of the Prussian Blue in my palette, big jug of clean water, and we're ready to go. And we're going to be working in a very traditional method, in that we're going to be working from light to dark. So the white, or the lights, is area of your picture, is obviously going to be the white of the paper. And then you've got a little stronger value, which could be shadow colour, and then a very strong colour, probably around, say, 3 to 4 values within one picture. If you're unsure about values, it's nice to do little kind of tests with that. little swatches like this. So you could say, oh, that's going to be my darkest value. I'll add some more water to that. That's going to be slightly lighter. I'll add some more water to that, and so on and so on. So you can see how you know, the different ranges you can get with just one colour. Okay, so we'll put the lightest on first. So I'm just going to take a little bit of that Prussian. And we want the light to come this way, so I'm going to block in the side of that house with a light value. Now we're working very loosely as well, so excuse me, so don't worry about things running into one another. So there we go. Now we've got the shape of the house in. We'll put the chimney in as well, because that's a slight darker colour, isn't it? And you know what? I think we'll put a little bit of value just onto the rooftop there. We'll make sure that the other values are going to be stronger on top of that. If it's pooling like that with lots of water, thirsty brush, just cleaning your brush on your cloth and just lifting that away. There we go. So we're kind of concentrating on this area and this area here and this area here, almost like our stage curtains. We're going to soften the washes off as we come out. Where else can we go? Okay. Let's do the tree shape. So let's start with a very light wash. That wasn't very light, was it? Let's add some water to that. Let's make it a little bit lighter. Right, okay, I'm going to show you a little different way of working here as well, because sometimes we put the washes on and we allow them to dry, and other times we can add more colour. I'm just going to mop a little bit of that up. It's a little bit watery. So for instance, let's make this dark value here, maybe a bit here. Clean the brush. Just softening away those marks. Remember, we want this to be the lightest part and this to be darker. I know that's wet and it's going to run into that, but that'll be quite nice. So we've got this beautiful kind of variegated wash going on in that section. Let's do another one. Let's do it a different way this time. Let's do this tree here. So let's start with a much darker value. Much darker. And then water, adding water to my brush. And I'm using this part of my brush here, the heel of the brush, just to kind of smooth that wash out. Again, a lot of bags of water. And actually at this point, you could probably pull some shapes out of that dark wash to suggest a few little tree trunks and things. Soften that away. I've been a little bit heavy-handed there, so I'm just going to take my cloth and just lift a bit away. There we go. So it already looks like a tree, doesn't it? Without actually having to draw every single leaf. Okay, let's think about the bank or the side of the canal. So a very light wash here to indicate this line here, this pathway. Oh, now you see it, now you don't. Now you see it, now you don't. And we'll block that in with a very light wash. To indicate that shape. I'm going to keep the path as a nice white, and there's a little wall there as well, I see. Do you know what? It could be anything. It could be a wall, it could be a tree. It's just a value, really, to me. It's just a shape and a colour. So we've got that lovely kind of curved shape coming on here. Let's do the same here, then we know where we are. Think about your brush strokes as well. Look, think about painting that downward stroke to suggest that lovely old wall here. Doesn't matter if you go out the lines, look, it's quite nice if you do. So already we're starting to build this up. I can hear you asking me, what are we going to do with this area, Joanne? What's going to happen here? We're not going to put a sky in because we don't see a sky in the photograph. We see lots and lots of trees in the distance, and we're going to produce one big wash to kind of show that area, to explain that area to your viewer. And it's also going to be quite an important wash because what it's going to do is it's going to highlight the lights here, here and here. So we're not quite ready for that. We're going to just plough on and put a few more values in to the shrub areas. So again, let's think about dark to light. You've got this lovely, it's like a pink bush, isn't it? Beautiful. Let's make it darker underneath. Let's clean our brush and let's pull that wash out. Pulling it out. I want to keep that as a nice light area, so I'm definitely not going to pull it out too much. There we go. So it kind of seems strange, this, doesn't it? Because we've just got this nothing area here. But once you put a value against it, say for instance here, I'll soften that away. Can you see what happens now? It becomes a shape, doesn't it? It becomes a lovely shape. Let's do it on this side as well. So those kind of plants, flowery shapes that kind of come up like that. Cleaning the brush and just pushing that value out. It's going to mingle in with this other tree as well. We'll make it a bit lighter. And a dappled old shape. There we go. So they are very loose brush strokes, aren't they? They're not really telling you anything at the moment, but they will, believe you me, they will. Okay. There's some kind of like little grass shapes growing across here, so we'll not paint the grass shapes. We'll paint around them. We'll have another one there, look. So I'm just leaving that as a blank. Sometimes there are casualties. Look, I've lost that one now. That's annoying. Don't worry. There you go. It's all good. It's really nice to be able to just cover as much of that paper as you possibly can. And don't forget as well, I know I lost these shapes, but they will be lighter. They will dry much, much lighter. Okay? Now we've got to do this side. So I'm going to have a little break and we'll come back and we'll start to work on this side. And hopefully by that time, once we've done that, we can come into this area and really make a statement with that background. So nice and dry. Let's come here and you can practice here. The thing about this is it is quite difficult. I find that a lot of people really struggle with this, creating this shape from dark to light. But hopefully the more you do, the more you practice. So let's show you in a simplified way. Because if you look at your photograph, there's just a jumble of grasses and foliage and all sorts of things going on. But we're all about simplification. That's what we're here for. Simplification. Let's break that shape down. So let's look here, look. Let's put a dark here, remembering your big arrow here coming in. That's darkening that shape. Clean water, pushing it away. Oh, it might go into the water a bit there as well. Another one. Let's put a little dark value here. Do two. Don't do too many at once. So there's two. And we'll just pull that value out. Keep cleaning your brush, because if you don't clean your brush, what you're doing is you're just spreading that colour around. And you're not going to get that kind of shape that you're looking for. So the dark creates the light. You see that? Let's do another one. Let's make this one come right down into the water. So it's a dark colour into that water. Cleaning our brush. And pulling that wash out. Like so. Might let that kind of drip down there as well. Into your water. Just letting it all drip to get down into that area. Okay, here's another one. Look, nice little shape here. Clean water, softening away. There you go. It's quite effective, isn't it? Let's let that run down there as well. I don't think I was dark enough here, so I think I can come in and put a much kind of stronger value here. Maybe another touch here might be quite nice. Cleaning the brush. pushing that away. Doesn't matter if it goes over your tree. Let's just let that run down into that area. And if you've lost those lights, you know, don't worry, you can get a little bit of tissue, or you can just wet it with your brush and just lift back some of those areas that you feel you've lost. Some colours are very staining actually, and you'd think that Prussian would do that, but actually it doesn't. It's quite a forgiving colour. So we're starting to get this nice lead in now. Now, I want you to take a deep breath because we're going to paint all this in one go. And you're going to need a lot of paint, and obviously water. I think the easiest way to do this is to turn our picture upside down. But I want you to remember where your light's coming from. So before we turn it upside down, I'll tell you what would be nice. If we go, okay, so I definitely feel that dark against that house would work quite well. Be careful here because it's still wet. Pull that down and then think about that tree shape. So we're practicing this colour again, aren't we? This technique again, sorry. This technique of putting a dark in and softening away. It's a lovely technique. I use it all the time. Okay. I want to make this area here really, really dark, but because that's wet, I'm going to leave it for a second and come back to it. So as promised, let's turn our picture upside down. Go in with that lovely dark Prussian, and again you want to catch the light on these trees. You can soften that away. It's quite therapeutic actually. There we go, around that tree shape. Bags of water. Occasionally putting a little dark in every now and again, just kind of softening it away. And I'm going to pull that wash all the way down to the top here. No light bits at all. Apart from that, which I said to you before, don't overdo the wax. And what do? Overdo the wax. That's okay. So, remember this is going to dry an awful lot later. Don't panic. Let's turn that around. And that's what we've got. Right, I'm going to be brave. I think it's probably dry. Let's make this area really, really dark to show off the distance. Got that lovely little couple there as well, haven't we? Popped a couple of people in there. Forgot to mention those. Okay, keeping the light on this shape here. And then we reach that wall shape. I'd like to spritz this area as well. I'm going to turn it upside down while I do that, because what happens as well with a big wash like this, it tends to sit in your dry areas, so just putting it upside down gives it somewhere else to go. Now, depending on how that looks, we could come back in and create more shapes like we've been doing here, so it's a great way to practice that technique. Whoops, just push that in a bit. But let's see how it dries. Let's see if we need to do that, because sometimes a wash like that just kind of explains what's going on without having to tell your viewer every single little detail. I know it seems dark, it will dry lighter. I seem to have lost my little chimney shape there, so just pull that back again. I'm going to let it run into that. It already has done anyway. A little shadow down there as well. Are you with me so far? Let's work onto this section here. So now I'm going for a mid-tone, kind of, this kind of tone here. And I'm going to put the eaves so that the shadow underneath the roof of that building. Left a little gap as well there for the tree. I can just soften that on the edges. There we go. And we've got a little window shape here. Just a simple mark. In and down. And there's your window. Oh, I might spritz a little bit more. And I have lost my chimney shape. So I'm just going to lift a little bit of that away. Because I rather like the chimney. Tilt the board up and give it another little spritz. Just to break up that colour. Shaking my board, and then it will hopefully flow down whichever direction you hold your board. That's the way your water is going to take the paint. If we let it sit like that forever, it will just sit into the areas that are dry, and you kind of want this even flow. Again, I'll just tilt that a little bit more. So you can see how we're making quite a complicated painting, or scene should I say, into a very simplistic painting. What shall we do next? I feel we need a bit of tidying up in this area here. And I'm very much aware that I don't want to put too much detail here, but I like that lovely white bush here, so I really want to show that off. So how am I going to do that? By putting a dart next to it. Okay, let's come in. I'm using the point of the brush here now, just to kind of suggest the tops of those flowers. Clean my brush, pushing away. By the end of this, you should be so good at this technique. We can't really see what's going on here, but it's another chance to play, isn't it? Light coming this way, maybe you've got some kind of shrub here. So we'll just put a dart next to it, and we'll soften that away, let it float into that wash. And here, again, I'm going to put a nice bit of dark against that light to show off that lovely shrub. There we go. Let's put a value underneath that. It is quite dark in places, isn't it? Oh, and there it hits the wall at that point. Pull that out. Remember, you want to keep that as this is the light part. So you're just pushing that out. Keep cleaning your brush. Pushing it out. There you go. So that's going to sparkle now. So you've got these lovely light areas here, 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 all starting to kind of make sense of what we're painting. I don't think I'm going to put any more kind of foliage onto this shape. I think what we could do is just suggest some dark parts of that wall. Maybe even kind of putting some marks like this that suggest that shape. Bags of water, letting that run. Letting it run. Doesn't matter if it runs into the water. In fact, we can kind of let it because we did put some wax there, didn't we? So we can let it do that. That's okay. So it's a nice kind of subtle area. It's got no detail at all, but it is actually telling the viewer that it's a wall. And when we put some darks in, like say underneath here, that will certainly then help to establish that shape. I think the tree could be dark on this side, so let's really wet that. And think about it in sections as well, so there's a nice light part. We'll have it dark underneath. Oh, we could have another kind of light part here. Cleaning the brush, clean the brush, clean your brush. And push that out. Push that out. Careful, I don't want to go to the edges. I do not want to lose that lovely light that we've created. These are just subtle little marks in this tree. The lightest part being on that right hand side. It's better. And while it's still wet, we'll just take that darker colour and bob in that tree trunk. We kind of lose that, don't we, as it kind of comes down into this area. So no detail, no leaves, just a quick suggestion here, a bit of a branch here. I think that's what I was going for with this wax that I put in earlier. And yeah, just let your brush do the talking. Right, let's have a little break now. Oh, before I do, I've just noticed I kind of wanted that line there because I put wax there. So I'm going to show you what I will do here. And that is just re-wet that paper. Re-wet the paper and just dab a little bit away. So we can always come back to that and do what we've done here. Quick little spritz. You don't have to do the spritz, by the way. I think I'm just addicted to that. I love what it does with the watercolour. And again, it's time for a little break. So I've grabbed myself a coffee and I've cleaned my water. And probably a good idea for you to do that as well at this stage because it does get quite mucky. And I know we're only using one colour, but you still want to keep that freshness of colour as well. Let's just talk about this area here. So you can see that obviously I sprayed it and it got a bit of texture in, but it is quite a flat wash. So this technique that we've been practicing all throughout this painting comes in very handy here as well, because we can take a little bit of value and we can say, okay, so let's put a little bit of that here. Clean the brush. I'm just going to pull that away so it kind of melts into that background shape. So it's kind of a subtle little suggestion of a tree. Let's do another one. Okay, let's do one here. Let's just put I don't want to overdo this because I don't think it really needs too much, but it's just a nice way to show you how we can achieve these lovely subtle little shapes that could be trees and bushes in the distance. If you've not gone dark enough in an area, this is the time now. So my chimney's dry, and remember I lost the chimney shape, so I painted right through it. But if I put a very dark tone around that and bring it out, like so. There we go. So it's subtle. It's very, very subtle, but it's very effective. You could do this throughout your picture. I don't think you need to though. I just think, in my opinion, just a couple of little subtle shades and variations in that tone really do help. Okay, the dreaded water. Yeah, it's not easy to paint water. I remember doing a whole course once on just pure water and reflections. And it's very tricky to get it to look realistic. What I would like us to do, my plan, is for us to keep this lovely light here. So the reflection from the house is going to come down here, and I've pencil marked in an indication of that. The rest of it, we're just going to use our brush. We've put a little bit of wax down there as well, haven't we? So we'll start with a mid-tone, probably something like that. And I want to keep some lights. I want us to keep some dappled lights in this, but I also want us to put a bit of value in as well. I'm starting very lightly, taking it from the edge, and just gently pulling that across. And thinking about that water and how it's sitting on that flat plane. A little bit of light just shimmering there is quite nice. Now we get to the house shape, so I can clearly see the line that I put in here to indicate that. And I'll just pull that away. So my brush is just scraping that paper and creating a little bit of sparkle at the same time. Now obviously this isn't in the photograph. I can hear you saying that to me. I know that, but I just think it's a nice little touch to put that reflection in. Break the shape a little bit as well. If you make a mistake, put bags of water in it, just soften that down a little bit. And froth, just pull it. There you go. So let's work on this section now. So I'm taking quite a dark pigment, and remember we said we'd put some little marks in here for stones, so hopefully we should be able to pick a few of those up with this dark wash. So I'm making little circular marks just in case I haven't actually managed to get them with the wax. I'm going to clean the brush, maybe push that up into the wall a little bit, and then it's this across movement. So you're painting the flat of the water. I'm just taking the edge of those dark puddles of paint and just pulling them across. Like so. It might be a little bit dark that, but I'd rather it be too dark than too light. And then have to go over it again. Just lots of water. My brush is soaking wet through. I'm just pulling that paint in that direction down and then pulling it across. So it's nice and loose. And we can add little tiny details later on. Probably best not to fiddle with that. So let's do it on the other side. Okay, so here's the bank. So we can put a little suggestion of that in there and start to pull this wash out here. And I'm connecting it as well. So if I've got a shape like that, that's the dark against the plant, I'm going to pull that down into that water. Bags of water, tons of water. It's just dripping. Again, we had a little dark here, didn't we? We lost it a little bit, so we'll put it in again, cleaning the brush, just pulling that out and then across and out. Soften that bit. Okay, again, Putting that lovely dark value in, let it go into that water a little bit. Cleaning the brush and just softening that away. I'll just take the brush all the way across now just to connect that. So you can just about see the house, but I think it needs to stand out a little bit more. I'm just going to put in a little bit more value at the side of it. Bags of water, let it run down. Do that here, more water, just letting it run down to the bottom of your paper. Now, that is loose, isn't it? Okay, that's not to fiddle, she says. I just want to lose that light a little bit. If you notice, I use this part of my brush an awful lot. Since I've started filming, I've noticed that more and more, that I do use that part of my brush so much. It's very wet. I'm going to give it a spritz. You could also spritz back into your area here if you wanted to as well, just to soften the values that you put on before. And now we're nearly down to our final stage. I can hear my dog barking. That means the postman's here. So I'll see you in a minute. So now we're down really to just putting in some final little details and maybe a bit of tidying up. Okay, let's go back to this house and let's put some windows in it. Hopefully we should be nice and dry. And it's just a flick of the brush. There you go, 1, 2. I'm going to put a darker edge underneath there as well. Try not to fiddle with them, but yeah, just a simple mark. If you can say something with 1 mark rather than 10, then that is amazingly good. Okay, now let's look at this area here. I wanted to keep the white here and I've lost it. So I've got here, it's just an old acrylic brush actually, and it's quite a firm brush. I use it for brush show and bleach as well, so it's a bit sad, but it's quite a firm brush. If I take some clean water and I run it into this area here, I'm never ever going to get back to white paper. That's just impossible. Unless you're using brush show, of course, then you know that that is possible. Clean cloth. I'm just pulling that down with my finger. Sorry, I had the brush in my mouth then. Pulling that down with my finger. So again, into that area. And just pulling that down. There we go. That's much better, isn't it? So you're never going to get back to the white paper. But if we put some darker values against this now, so for instance, say here, maybe here, just pull that away. That's kind of helping, isn't it, to describe that shape. And what will help even more is if we just put a little squiggle there for a window, maybe even a squiggle here and a squiggle here. We might lose those in a minute because I want us now to really darken the values on this side. And we're really going to come in with quite a dark colour, connect it to those shapes and pull it across. Connect it to that shape and pull it across. Into that dark, pull it across, pull it across. Heel of the brush, pushing up, pushing up, pushing up. And just lots of water, just pulling that through. Maybe even make the top of that a little bit darker to suggest that chimney and roof. I've lost the chimney a little bit, but don't worry, it's all good. It's all good. That's much better, isn't it? Maybe a touch of value down the side here to just show that that part of that building is in shadow. Now, I'm not saying this is easy. It's not. It takes a lot of practice. But please don't be disheartened if you're kind of new to watercolour and you're struggling a little bit, because just purely by watching others paint and making a few mental notes and practicing little areas like this and this and this, then your confidence will grow. Even if you're kind of an intermediate, and this might scare you a little bit as well, it is wise to practice those areas. Build your confidence up a little bit. I've got two little people over there, haven't I? I'm just going to put in, seriously, just the slightest blob. There we go. And another one. Just to kind of suggest those people maybe are walking away. Oops. Soften them off a little bit. There you go. It's just a little hint of someone, isn't it? Remember this area here where we put the wax resist? Let's put some darks underneath that and create some little kind of stone shapes in the water. So the wax is really coming into its own here, because all you're doing is kind of just putting a darker mark underneath and then just pulling that wash away, pulling it away, maybe up and across. And it's just kind of giving that illusion, isn't it? That illusion of stones, little things in the water. I've got one here actually. It's a bit wet. It's not a wax resist mark, I don't think. Yeah, it is. Just dropping them in while it's nice and wet. Still adding more water. Now I suppose I'm at that point with this painting where I'm looking for things to do. That's always a dangerous time because that's when you start to overwork something, and at the moment it's looking nice and loose. You've got a bit of reflection going on. You've got these beautiful lights against the trees. Very simplistic building there. But let's, you know, if you're going to make marks, then make them important. So I think one of my marks should be just under that chimney there, just to give that a little bit more substance. Do I want to play around with any of these shapes? No, I don't think I do. You could do something like this if you like. This is quite a nice thing to practice, and this puts the fear of everyone into when I do this in the workshops. But I'm loading my brush with that pigment. I'm just shielding that with my hand, and I am basically just tapping. That paint across. Clean water now, and tap into that. Just gives this nice kind of loose feel. And I suppose we could do it on this side as well. I'm just tapping my brush. Oops, make sure I've got some paint on there. It's kind of more effective really when you do it when it's dry as well. But obviously I can't keep stopping and starting, so it's best to just do it now. I think we are finished. I don't think there's anything more to say. I could put the reflections into the people, couldn't I? But do you know what? For now, I'm going to say this is finished. And then maybe later on this afternoon or tomorrow, when I take a fresh look at it, I might want to add some extra little details, as you will as well. But give yourself time. you know, paint half of it, walk away, come back in a few hours' time, and then decide where the most important marks that you are going to make onto this painting are, and where are your values as well. So I hope you've enjoyed that. And I'm going to show you a sneaky little technique in a while, how we can glaze a picture and change the mood of that picture. But for now, I'll say goodbye. Thanks for watching, everyone. Bye. So here we are, another little extra bonus for you. So this is a different painting, by the way. I've not put as much value into it as the demonstration. So it was just a quick little kind of vignette of that scene. And what I want us to talk about is a glazing, which is a very traditional method, an old method of painting with watercolour. And it's something that we don't often do. And I know we're painting in one colour, but you can add more mood to a picture just by the colours that you use. So here I've got an Alizarian Crimson, and here, just want to check that one. Yeah, that is the Cobalt Yellow, Daniel Smith. And I've put them in two wells here. I'm also using this Stratford & York extra large brush, and this is really important that you use a big brush when glazing. You can't use a small brush, it just doesn't work. Because what we're doing is we're filling in a large surface area of colour, and of course a bigger brush will fill more surface area for you. So let's make some little washes here. And you need as well, which is really, really important, to make more washes than you think you need. And they're not going to be very dark, these washes. They're going to be very subtle. So I'm going to take some of that crimson and make a wash. Let's have a look at that. It's quite nice, isn't it? Okay, we'll clean the brush and we'll take some of that yellow and make another wash. Let's have a look at that one. There we go. Something stuck on my brush there. I don't think I've got enough there, so I'm going to add a little bit more. It's better to throw some down your sink than it is to run out. Seriously, you don't want to run out. Okay, so you can do this with one colour as well, but I thought I'd show you with two. So we're going to start at the top of our paper and we're going to work our way down. So let's start by putting in some of the red. So we're just pulling that wash across. What's important to note is that you only really get one attempt at this. If I go back and start to rub at that, I will disturb the wash underneath. So that's not a good idea. Let's change colour. Let's come in now with a little bit of that yellow. And of course we're going to lose the white here because the white of the house will now have this kind of yellow glow to it. Let's come back in with a little bit more of that red. And a little bit more of the yellow. There we go. Hasn't that dramatically changed our composition? It's given it a sort of evening feel, hasn't it? With the red sky and the yellow. I feel that that line's a bit harsh, so I'm going to go back in with a bit more yellow into that, just soften it away. Again, can you see what I said? I didn't follow my own advice. I rubbed it too much and I've lost the light on that building. So I'm going to lift it out with a bit of a cloth and maybe lift some of that reflection out as well. There we go. And there you go. So I'm sure, like me, you've got lots of paintings that you're not that happy with. Give this a go. It's a lovely technique to use. Remember, big jug of clean water, big brush, big washes. You can't go wrong. I hope you enjoy that. Have a go at that. And I'll see you soon. Bye.